Tell me, when you face risk, do you command it, or does it command you? Most people run from risk, mistaking comfort for safety, but Machiavelli knew the truth. Risk is not chaos, it's currency. And the man who learns to wield it doesn't just survive uncertainty, he dominates it. In this series, I'll reveal 7 ruthless laws of risk tolerance, principles forged from Machiavelli's wisdom. By the end, you won't just endure risk, you'll weaponize it. You'll learn how to forge your purpose into iron, strip failure of its sting, train courage step by step, kill your ego before it kills your power, expand your strength daily, arm yourself with skills no one can take, and stare down the worst case until it loses its teeth. These 7 laws are not theories, they are strategies. They will turn hesitation into action, fear into fuel, and risk into power. So I'll ask you once, are you ready to stay comfortable and timid like the many, or to master risk like the few? Because once you learn these 7 laws, risk will no longer be your enemy, it will be your greatest ally. Law 1. Clarify your why. Forge your mission into iron. Let me ask you a dangerous question. When you take risks, do you really know what you're fighting for? Or are you just gambling with your future? Most people step into uncertainty with nothing but vague hopes. That's why they collapse at the first sign of resistance. But Machiavelli knew better. He understood that power doesn't belong to the strongest or the luckiest. It belongs to the man whose purpose is forged in iron. Risk without purpose is chaos. But risk aligned with mission, that's a weapon. Risk only feels terrifying when your purpose is hollow. If you know exactly why you're moving, uncertainty doesn't paralyze you, it accelerates you. Think about it. You don't stumble because the risk is too big. You stumble because your why is too weak. You don't fear failure, you fear that your actions won't matter. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to quit a diet, a side project, or a job you don't care about? But when it's your family, your dream, or your survival, suddenly quitting is impossible. That's the difference purpose makes. Machiavelli wrote that a prince who seizes power must build on strong foundations, arms and laws. Without them, the state collapses. Your purpose is your foundation. Without it, risk is not strategy, it's suicide. Just like a ruler without legitimacy cannot survive, a professional without mission crumbles at the first setback. Your mission is your shield. When the storms of risk hit, it's the only thing that keeps you standing. Machiavelli wouldn't chase every opportunity. He would ask one brutal question. Does this serve the survival and expansion of my state? If yes, he advanced, even through fire. If no, he cut it off without hesitation. His why was power, stability, and control. Yours must be just as sharp.
Hey guys, we're Wisdom, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
So here's how you clarify your why. Write your core purpose in one uncompromising sentence. No fluff, no someday I'll. Single line that burns. Filter every risk through it. Ask, does this serve the mission? If yes, advance. If no, discard. No middle ground. Read this sentence every morning until it becomes instinct. Make it the first thought before you risk anything. A man with purpose is unshakable. Risk is not his enemy, but his ally. So tell me, what is your one uncompromising sentence? If you can't answer right now, that's your first battle. Because until you forge your why into iron, every risk you take will feel like a threat, but once you do, every risk becomes a weapon. Law 2. Redefine failure as data strip failure of its sting. When you fail, what's the first thing you do? Do you collapse into shame, replaying the mistake in your head like a broken record? Do you whisper to yourself, Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. That reaction is exactly why most men never rise, because they see failure as a verdict, final, absolute. But here's the truth. Failure is not a verdict. It's intelligence. It's a message. It's the universe handing you a secret note about what to do next. And if you can learn to read those notes, you stop fearing failure. You start using it. Most men let failure bury them. The strong use it to build empires. Which one will you be? Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He wrote that fortune is like a fierce woman. She only yields to the bold. Every failure is her test. Every defeat is her way of asking, will you break, or will you learn how to dominate me? That's why setbacks are not scars, they are a reconnaissance. Think about it. A failed business deal isn't the end. It's data on what people value and what they don't. A lost client isn't humiliation. It's intelligence on where your strategy was weak. Even in your personal life, rejection isn't proof you're worthless. It's feedback on what you must sharpen, whether it's your confidence, your communication, or your presence. The loser sulks. The strategist rewires. Now imagine this. Two men start a venture. Both fail. The first one drowns in self-pity, muttering, "Why me?" The second one dissects the failure like a general studying a lost battle. He asks, "What terrain did I misjudge? Where were my troops unprepared? What did the enemy do that I didn't anticipate?" That second man doesn't fail twice. He adapts. And the next time, he wins. Which one do you think Machiavelli would have trusted with a kingdom? He wouldn't waste time crying over losses. He would strip failure of its sting by ripping out the lesson. He'd log every defeat as information. He'd catalog every misstep like a scientist collecting samples. Then, he'd retest, adjust, and strike harder. That's why he admired men like Cesare Borgia, ruthless enough to see disaster not as death, but as data. And you must do the same. Here's how. After every setback, write down one lesson. Treat that lesson as currency. It's worth more than gold. Keep a record of your failures, not as tombstones, but as experiments. Build a playbook from your scars. Then, test again. Adjust again. Advance again. Because failure is not the grave. It is reconnaissance. It's the map drawn in your own blood that shows you exactly where to march next. So the next time you stumble, don't curse your luck. Don't sulk like the weak. Ask yourself, what intelligence have I just gathered? How do I use it to become more dangerous? That's the Machiavellian way. And once you adopt it, failure loses all power to paralyze you. It becomes your scout, your spy, your secret ally. Law 3. Take incremental risks, advance by inches, conquer by miles. You think courage comes in one dramatic moment, don't you? That one day you'll just rise up, face the storm, and everything will change. But that's a lie. Courage doesn't appear fully formed in some grand explosion. It's trained. It's forged in small daily victories until risk stops feeling like risk and starts feeling like routine. Risk tolerance is not innate. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, it only grows when you push it under pressure. Not once, but again and again, progressively, until what used to terrify you now feels effortless. But here's the problem. Most men wait. They wait for that one big opportunity to prove themselves. The massive pitch. The life or death decision. The moment when the spotlight burns hot, and when it finally comes, they collapse. Because they never trained for it. Machiavelli knew better. He praised rulers who rose from nothing, not with one reckless leap, but through gradual steps. They secured one foothold at a time before striking further. Power is not seized in a single gamble. It is accumulated in increments. Think of a prince expanding his territory. He doesn't charge blindly into a neighboring empire. First, he takes one city, then another, then another. Each victory builds confidence, momentum, and resources until the final conquest feels inevitable. That's how power works, and that's how your courage must be built. Step by step, action by action. Today, it may be speaking up in the meeting when your instinct is to stay silent. Tomorrow, it's taking the lead on a project. Soon, it's stepping into command when others hesitate. Inch by inch, you expand your territory until risk no longer rules you, you rule it. Machiavelli would never gamble the entire state on one reckless throw of the dice. He would test, probe, expand by degrees. He'd ask, where can I advance one step today without collapsing my strength? That's strategy. That's how princes endure where gamblers perish. So here's what you must do. Write down one small risk you will take every single day, then gradually escalate. What is uncomfortable today becomes normal tomorrow. What feels dangerous this week becomes instinct next month. Train your tolerance the way a soldier trains for war, through progressive overload. Just like weightlifting, resistance makes you stronger. Power is not won in leaps. It is earned in disciplined steps. And those steps, taken daily, accumulate into inevitability. So tell me, what is the one risk you will take today? Because if you wait for the big moment, you'll already be too late. But if you advance by inches, one day you'll look back and realize you've conquered miles. Law 4. Detach ego from outcome. Kill your vanity before it kills your power. What really stops you from taking risks? Is it the danger? The loss? The cost? No. The real weight of risk isn't failure itself, it's the imagined shame of others watching. You fear embarrassment more than defeat. You tremble at the thought of ridicule. And so you stay silent in meetings. You hold back your ideas. You avoid bold moves, not because the risk will kill you, but because your ego whispers, what if they laugh? And in that hesitation, opportunity dies. But Machiavelli knew the truth. A ruler cannot afford to be ruled by fragile pride. He wrote, "A prince must not mind incurring the charge of cruelty if it keeps his subjects united and loyal." In other words, ego must be sacrificed for effectiveness. Reputation means nothing if survival is lost. Pride means nothing if power slips through your hands. Think about it. Have you ever watched someone fail in public? Did you dwell on their embarrassment? No, you forgot about it within days, even hours, and yet you let the fear of that fleeting moment control your entire life. That is ego, strangling your power before it ever breathes. Machiavelli would never hesitate because of ridicule. He would act decisively because hesitation breeds weakness, and weakness breeds ruin. He would ask one brutal question: what is truly at risk, my survival or my ego? If only the ego is threatened, he would advance without hesitation, and you must do the same. Separate controllable actions from uncontrollable perceptions. You cannot control what others think. You cannot control their whispers, their gossip, their laughter. But you can control execution, and in the end, only execution matters. So reward yourself for action, not applause. Celebrate the fact that you moved, not that others approved. That is how you kill vanity before it kills your power. Because here is the cold truth: the man who acts without fear of judgment becomes unstoppable. The strategist does not perform for praise, he acts for power. So the next time your ego trembles, ask yourself, am I really in danger, or just afraid of looking foolish? If it's only your pride at risk, you already know the answer. Advance. Always advance. A strategist acts for power, not praise. Law 5. Expand your comfort zone daily. Wage war on your own weakness. Comfort feels safe, doesn't it? The soft routines, the familiar patterns, the predictable days. But here's the truth. Comfort is not safety. Comfort is captivity disguised as peace. It lulls you, weakens you, and turns you into prey. You don't fear risk because it's dangerous. You fear risk because you've been domesticated by routine. You've lived in the cage of comfort so long that the open battlefield looks terrifying. And when opportunity finally arrives, you panic. Not because the threat is too great, but because you never trained for it. Machiavelli understood this weakness in rulers. He wrote that fortune favors those who prepare in times of peace. Smart princes tested themselves constantly, even when there was no war, so that when war came, they were never unready. That's the strategy you must adopt. Daily discomfort is your rehearsal for battle. Think about it. Cold showers, hard conversations, difficult negotiations, speaking truths that others fear to say. These are not random hardships. They are drills. They are war games. Each one is a controlled burn that strengthens your spirit. Every day you bleed a little in training, so that when the real war comes, you do not panic. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you deliberately chose discomfort? When was the last time you walked into fear just to inoculate yourself against it? If the answer is silence, then you know why your courage fails you when it matters most. Machiavelli would never allow himself to be softened by routine. He would treat comfort as the enemy because he knew fortune rewards the prepared, not the pampered. He would sharpen his mind and body daily, knowing that survival in chaos depends on resilience trained in advance. Here's what you must do. Every day, choose one discomfort, physical, social, or intellectual. Track these acts like a soldier logs his drills, then escalate. Increase the intensity until what used to terrify you feels ordinary. Over time, your comfort zone expands so wide that no risk can cage you. Because the truth is simple. He who bleeds in training does not panic in war. So tell me, what will you choose today to make yourself stronger tomorrow? Will you reach for comfort, or will you march into discomfort like a strategist preparing for victory? Law 6. Build a safety net of skills. Arm yourself with weapons that cannot be taken. Why do you feel so vulnerable? Why does every risk feel like a cliff you might fall from? Because you've built your life on fragile foundations, your employer, your title, your company, your industry. Strip those away, and what's left? If the answer is nothing, then you are already defeated. Machiavelli despised rulers who relied on mercenaries. He called them disloyal, dangerous, and useless, because when the battle turned bloody, mercenaries fled. A prince who depended on them was doomed. His survival rested on forces he didn't control. That's weakness, that's vulnerability, and you are no different. If your survival depends on structures you don't control, your boss's approval, your company's stability, the economy's mood, then you are living like a ruler with a mercenary army. One shift, one betrayal, one crisis, and you collapse. Machiavelli warned, a prince must command his own citizen army. In your world, that means one thing. You must command your own arsenal of skills, transferable skills, weapons no one can take from you. Think about it. Communication, negotiation, strategy, leadership. These are your citizen soldiers. They fight for you wherever you go, in any battlefield, in any industry. When the system crumbles, they remain. When the title disappears, they remain. When the employer betrays you, they remain. Skills are mercenary, loyal to no one but you. Machiavelli would never bet his power on borrowed strength. Neither should you. He would forge his own arsenal, so that even stripped bare, he remained dangerous. You must do the same. So here's your mission. Identify your 3 most transferable skills, the ones you can carry into any arena and still win. Train them relentlessly, take courses, seek practice, apply them in real conflict, then, every quarter, add 1 new weapon, 1 new skill to strengthen your arsenal. By the end of a year, you will not be the same man. By the end of a decade, you will be untouchable. Because here is the Machiavellian truth. The adaptable cannot be cornered. So ask yourself, if your title vanished tomorrow, if your company dissolved tonight, would you still be powerful? If not, then it's time to start building your army, one skill at a time, one weapon at a time, until you no longer fear collapse, because collapse cannot touch you. Law 7. Visualize worst-case scenarios. The command: face the monster before it faces you. Fear isn't always born from reality. More often, it's born from vagueness, from the unknown, from shadows that your mind magnifies until they look like monsters. That's why you freeze. That's why you never act. Not because the risk is unbearable, but because you've never defined it. But here's the secret. Once you drag the monster into the light, it loses its power. Define the worst-case scenario, and suddenly it's not infinite. It's concrete. It's survivable. And if it's survivable, it's no longer terrifying. Machiavelli saw this truth in politics. He warned that rulers often weaken themselves by hiding behind fortresses. They think they're safe inside walls, but in truth, they're blind to reality. They don't walk the battlefield. They don't see the danger, and when the attack comes, they're unprepared. Avoiding the worst case doesn't protect you, it kills you. Better to walk the battlefield before the war, and that applies to your life. Avoiding the worst keeps you weak. Facing it makes you strong. Think about the risks you're avoiding right now. Quitting the job you hate, starting the business you've been dreaming about, asking for the promotion, having the difficult conversation. Why haven't you acted? Because in your mind, the consequences feel limitless. You imagine ruin. You imagine endless humiliation. You imagine doom. But have you ever written it down? Have you ever defined what worst really means? Here's what Machiavelli would do. He would face the monster first. He would write the absolute worst outcome: financial loss, rejection, betrayal. Then he would ask, how do I recover? And unless the answer was total annihilation, he would proceed. Because clarity slays fear. Vagueness feeds it, and you must do the same. Take the risk you've been paralyzed by. Write the worst possible outcome. Write how you would recover. Then ask, can I survive this? If the answer is yes, advance. If the answer is no, adjust the plan until survival is possible. But do not hide. Hiding keeps you blind, because here's the reality: the risks you avoid are rarely fatal. They just feel that way in the dark. The moment you define them, you strip them of power, and once fear is stripped of power, it becomes fuel. So the next time your mind trembles, don't run from the shadows. Face them. Put them on paper. Confront the monster before it confronts you. Clarity slays fear. Vagueness feeds it.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the resources and the original books we used today. We'll see you in the next one.